Hello. Welcome back.
We have a dog.
We do in fact have Spark in the room.
Although he's staring at that door like he wants to go out. So
He probably does.
I might just let him out.
Quick, go let him out.
We have a dog. Enjoy the 3 or 4 seconds that we have a dog for.
Alright. There you go. We still have a dog. We still have a dog. Door is open. The dog is gone.
Come on, bye, dog.
Well,
Love you.
I hope that really improved the episode for everyone.
Yeah, I feel at least 20% happier. That's what dogs do, scientifically. They make you 20% happier. All dogs. Hashtag no bad dogs, only bad owners. Except when they dig up the back of your yard into the neighbor's yard, and then you're like, why do we buy dogs? We should just get cats, and then you have cats, and they're lovely. Hashtag cats over dogs.
That is not my experience with either cats or dogs.
Well, you have a crazy dog that we love, but like your dog doesn't do anything. No, like he doesn't make any sound.
My dog is incredibly lazy.
He's lazy. He's gentle. Say gentle. Yes. That's the PR word. It's gentle, not lazy.
No, he's lazy. He's
gentle.
Very lazy.
Gentle, lazy, like a gentleman, but gentle Z.
Sparky's the kind of dog that I'll be
Ladle.
Playing catch with him, and I'll throw it, and he'll get the ball once, and he'll come back, he'll put it down at my feet, and I'll throw it again, and he'll be like, I just brought it back!
Yeah, like,
you get it this time!
Yeah, that's fun. And you get to trade, catches with the dog. It's adorable.
No, because then he just doesn't do it. That's it. That's the end of the game.
Well, that's why I like cats, because then it's like a game to see whether or not they'll actually come over to you and let you pat them.
Anyway.
Let's continue the story, which we are enjoying.
Now, Ben, we've been asked by a dear commenter to rate people's personalities before this twist that we just had happen.
The twist that we just had, yeah, so we've missed the boat.
No one saw it coming.
Yeah, the comment was to ask us which characters we liked, more for you than for me.
Well, yeah.
See which characters we like the most, or which ones we don't like, and then see if it changes before the end of the story. And it's part of the, expected narrative arc of someone who is watching the show or reading the novel, that they'll be like, oh man, that's Shion. She's such a victim, and she's lovely, and she just wants to be in love, and she's great and stuff. And then, oh no, she's stun-gunned her sister and her grandmother, and now she is being an awful person, and I never saw this coming. But that hasn't really been your experience.
No, not at all. Partially because I love it when characters do stupid shit because it's entertaining.
It's great.
Like Keiichi.
Yeah, best boy.
The other thing is I suspected that Shion was the one behind Arc 2 all along anyway, so once we're like, oh hey, it's just Arc 2 again.
Yeah. I mean, we have not finished the arc, so I can either confirm or deny anything, but if you're presented a puzzle where it's either A or option B, and the story's like, it's definitely option A, 100% A, go for A. It's a mystery, but it's A, then it's probably B. That's usually how that goes.
You see, you say that, but that would make it seem like if it was Takano or magic, that I should say that it's magic because
yeah, maybe it is magic. Maybe it is.
Maybe the story is actually telling me that it's magic, and thus it is Takano.
Maybe it's magic. Yeah, I
was trying to come up with a counterpoint there, but
I don't know what happened to it.
I
feel like you had some kind of very witty thing you were going to say, but maybe it's my turn to say a witty thing.
No.
Maybe it's my turn to shine.
I mean, I was maybe going to bring up the fact that the story did at least try and say, but it was Mion's body found in the well, but that couldn't have been her because she came and stabbed Keiichi in the gut. But I guess you're right. It was still saying that it was Mion. It was Mion.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing, isn't it? It can't be one of two culprits. We've physically seen the culprit, and there are only 2 people that fit that description.
Yeah. I'm still upset with myself about the stun gun.
I know.
I just associate.
I expect more from you.
I associate Shion with stabbing. Because
from now on,
got stabbed.
And who got stabbed? No one else. That was it.
What?
It was just Keiichi.
I was just gonna go Keiichi 4 times for each of the 4 previous arcs.
No. Shion is associated with the stun gun from here on out. That's just her thing. So yeah, good luck with that.
That's disappointing.
I think
really disappointed in myself.
I think it's because electricity is kinky, and that's Shion's thing apparently. In the anime, I mean. Have you seen, we haven't talked about this yet, but there is so much promotional art that is just, oh, they're twins and they're almost kissing, oh, is so much of it's ridiculous. It's horrifying.
Wasn't there the scene in Arc 2 outside
Which one?
The festival grounds where Shion is introduced to the scene by lifting up Mion's clothes?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. Was that in the VN? Because I know
It was in the VN.
It's in the manga, like they show it in the manga, which is awful. I don't think they do it in the anime, so that was one thing I think that they shied away from. But yeah, in general, it's pretty messy. The representation of twins in Higurashi, like, oh boy, this is the older sister characters. Let's go.
Like, on the one hand, the, like, juxtaposition between the fun, goofy, sexy stuff and the, like, horror stuff is what makes the horror stuff so strong.
It is.
But on the other hand, I'm like...
Well, this is the thing, and this is obviously something that I've always believed in. The thing that, like, sells Higurashi for me is the balance between light and dark. It's the goofy stuff and the horror stuff. It's like... Because if you made, like, I feel like if a Western studio is like, let's make a story about a bunch of kids and they have really fun times, and then all of a sudden they're like killing each other, it'd probably be like a B movie. Like, I feel like they'd be just a dumb comedy film. So I'm sure I've seen a film like that before.
So you're saying that if a Western studio tried to make a Higurashi movie, they would get the Umineko anime?
Probably. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying. Yeah, like, I feel like it's so easy to take this and, like, make it into a dumb, goofy time, which it arguably is in the anime at certain points. But that's Dean's fault. That's Dean and their terrible animation. Good lord. But, like, I think that the way that Urushi blends those two sides generally is pretty balanced. The Dean, like, the sexuality stuff in particular, I think they take it a bit too far.
Well, I think one of the benefits of the way that Ryukishi writes is that you can attach yourself more or less to one of the two styles more.
Sure.
So, like, some people will read this and they'll get more out of the fun stuff. Other people will read it and they'll get more out of the horror stuff. People like you will kind of get more out of the balance.
Sure.
So, I don't know. I don't think that it's necessarily right or wrong that Studio Dean portrayed more of the light side.
Well, that's not... even that not strictly true. So what they did was they made it so that they focused hard on the horror and the blood and the gore, but they also had the sexualization. They didn't go hard on the funny stuff. They went hard on the sex and the gore. That's why, like, most people say, oh, Rena's that yandere character. She's really freaky. If she likes you, she'll pull your intestines out or whatever, which is, like, not an accurate Rena thing. But yeah, like, it's hard to explain because it's not just like they went hard on one side. It's that they amped up the sexuality. There is some really, like, disturbing art, like real art that they made. There's all terrible quality, but it's terrible. I don't want to show you it.
It's all right.
It's exploitative.
We'll get there after Arc 6.
I don't want to look at it.
We're gonna watch the anime.
But yeah,
it's gonna happen.
They went really hard on the horror stuff, so that when people, like, watch the anime, they're like, oh, that's that horror show. Whereas in the VN, I think it is much better balanced. I think that's how it should be. Anyway, we'll watch the anime one day and you'll understand what the hell I'm saying.
Mion's words were stuck in my head. If those two dead bodies were the result of the curse, then there should be two sacrifices to calm Oyashiro-sama's anger. The four of us snuck into the shrine storage together. It was a simple equation. Did that mean that Keiichi and I were in danger? I got drunk, fell asleep, and decided to stay overnight. Was that because of the alcohol, or did someone put a drug in my drink? Nah, it's definitely the alcohol. It's not like me to get drunk and spend a night at the hag's house. I wanted to forget about what happened in that eerie storehouse, so I drank too much. But it really was strange for me to get that drunk. Maybe it was a good thing I woke up in the middle of the night. I could have been the one to wake up in a cell. Sometimes it's hard to recognize danger when you avoid it accidentally. A part of me wanted to just laugh at the idea, but another part felt frightened that I was so close to being in Mion's position. If my thinking was correct, I wonder how Keiichi Maebara was doing right now. I didn't see him in any of the cells, but that didn't guarantee his safety. Takano-san and Tomitaki-san had been executed. There was a possibility that Keiichi could already be dead.
No!
But just like what happened to Satoshi-kun, it might only happen after a few days. When the sun rose, I was going to pretend to be Mion and head to her school.
Spoilers!
I was going to check if Keiichi Maebara was safe. If he had already disappeared, the enemy would come after me next. I'd have to be a decoy for myself. But if he was still safe, I needed to keep my eyes on him. I was sure the enemy would come after that scatterbrain. If I became Mion, Shion would disappear. The enemy would think Shion had already been demoned away and they'd concentrate on Keiichi. If nothing happened to Keiichi, that would also be fine. It'd prove that nothing would happen to me either. The hag was still sleeping in the wheelchair. I was going to interrogate her, but actually I wasn't expecting to learn that much. The woman who was also known as Empress Sonozaki probably wouldn't say a thing even if her fingers were cut off. Mion, her successor, was the complete opposite. She spoke readily but didn't know too much about anything. Mion had said she was only a messenger, and that someone else was taking care of problems on the underside. It was possible Mion had grown to be a good liar and that she tried to deceive me with a straight face. But at the same time, I could see the hag not letting Mion get involved in the underside of the village. If I were her, I wouldn't have used Mion for that either. Unlike me, Mion was a nice person. While there was only ones and zeros in the world, she believed there were numbers with decimal points. In other words, she could never be cruel. If the hag thought the same way as I do, it was very possible. The one who took care of problems on the underside, X, was the one who actually governed the curse of Oyashiro-sama.
It's Mr. X. He's coming for us!
If the hag became concerned about something, X would deal with it, either directly or indirectly. Or maybe the hag and X would discuss the details first. But did X really exist? If he did, his place in the village hierarchy was a lot more important than that of the successor. Unlike Mion, who was too nice, they were discreet, cruel, and cunning. Furthermore, they were extremely close to the hag, someone who would have a lot of contact with her just before it was time for the curse. Because of the way Toмотaki-san died, it could be someone who regularly dealt with unusual drugs. He could be a member of a medical institution, pause for effect. The director of the Oryou clinic.
This is a boy.
Oryou? In this isolated village, Oryou was famous for opening such a beautiful clinic and for working so hard for the village's sake. The villagers liked his mature personality and really respected him.
What has happened there? Same time with the music.
Villagers liked his mature personality?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's very mature and not at all a silly pants.
There's nothing scarier than a doctor who's also a murderer.
Oh yeah.
If Oryou was the person behind the curse, all the mysterious deaths could be explained. However, there was only a slim chance of Oryou being X. Main reason being that the hag wouldn't trust him. Like many of the elderly, the hag doesn't like young people. I knew she'd never trust him because of his age. Furthermore, she had openly criticized his behavior among the relatives once. Although Oryou was famous, he was an outsider after all. He wasn't born here. He tried to maintain a good relationship with the villagers as the director of the clinic, but that was just on the surface. I get it because he has an underground bunker. I couldn't even imagine the hag telling him about her worries or about the village's underside. If she was as suspicious of others as I was, then she'd only gather trustworthy people to deal with that underside. The first people that came to mind...
It's Oyashiro-sama at the door. Shit.
You can't come in, Sparky.
He's going off. He's going for us.
Let the dog in.
Oyashiro-sama scratches at your door.
The first people that came to my mind were the leaders of the three families. Leaving Rikachama out, the head of the Kimiyoshi family was a strong possibility. He was the only one who could advise Empress Sonozaki. They were of a similar age and everyone knew they were very close outside the family councils. Furthermore, as the mayor, he often went to the Sonozaki house just before Watanagashi to discuss the festival preparations. I could easily picture them talking privately. The only one who executed the curse of Oyashiro-sama, the one who murdered Takano-san and Toмотaki-san.
Flash.
The mastermind behind the series of mysterious deaths that had been going on for the past 5 years. Was he coming after me? Did he get to Sadashi-kun? When I thought about Sadashi-kun, I felt elevated.
Like I'm floating off the ground.
I was fearful of possibly being this year's victim until just a moment ago. I was scared that X was after me. But when I thought about it, I realized, whoever it was, this person had gotten Sadashi-kun. I'd looked so hard, but I couldn't find him. I'd almost forgotten about this enemy. For better or for worse, he was going to appear before me again. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't find that enemy. But now he was trying to find me. That was it. I wasn't only being chased, I was chasing too. When I realized all this, I was no longer afraid of dying to the 5th year's curse. It had become a game. I wasn't only being threatened, I was threatening too. Now was the time to settle the score for Satoshi-kun. Now was the time to awaken the passions that had grown weak over the past year. I could feel righteous indignation and courage flare up within me. The only emotion that can defeat fear is anger.
Makes sense to me.
Is that how it goes? Feel leads to hate.
No, fear leads to anger,
Fear leads to
but is
anger,
also
anger leads to hate,
counter
hate leads
of fear.
Okay, cool.
That's how it works. That's what Yoda said.
That's how you know.
That's what Yoda-sama said.
That's how you know the curse is affecting Shion, because she's got it backwards.
Yeah.
She probably thinks that suffering goes to anger, and so on.
And that Yoda is actually a ninja with a lightsaber, and he flips around. Yeah, that'd be crazy. That flips around people.
Can we get some artwork of Oryou?
Yes, please. Give her the ears, please. In fact, in the wheelchair that she's strapped into, just flipping around. That's what I want. That's what I want. Do it, internet.
When my anger completely overtook my fear, I felt as if I were reborn.
In the dark side of the Force.
Why don't you wake up, Empress of Hags?
It's the Emperor.
I kicked her wheelchair rather violently, but that didn't wake her up either. Are you just pretending to be asleep? I grabbed her hair and pulled her head up, but even then the hag still stayed silent with a straight face. Then I noticed something. I looked for an appropriate torture device. They were all large scale, none of them being particularly handy. That's when I saw a cigarette lighter on a cushion in the tatami room.
Oh no.
One of the relatives must have left it there.
That's not like a proper torture device.
I lit the lighter. A huge flame appeared. I turned the lighter off and went back to the hag with it. Can you see it? Can't you see it? This is a cigarette lighter somebody left behind. I lit it in front of her eyes. I'm going to burn your nose now. You don't want that, do you? I wouldn't want it, so why don't you quit pretending to be asleep? There was still no response. I put the flame right under her nose without hesitation. The tip of the flame touched the tip of her nose. The flame must have burned her nose hair. It smelled terrible. I was already certain, but I continued anyway. I brought the flame closer to her eye. Her eyelid didn't move one bit. The flame burned her eyelashes, making it smell awful again. I turned the lighter off and then felt her throat and wrist. I didn't feel any warmth. I didn't feel a pulse either.
Why didn't you do that first?
What? Because otherwise we can't do the spooky bit first. Did she die from the stun gun?
That was well called, by the way. That was well called.
There was no way she could pretend. Well, I mean, she didn't appear at all in Arc 2, so
I know.
You know, you figure she would have
There's
been
only
in one
so
of the
many
cells.
Yeah, there's only so many places she can be.
See, now I'm just mad about the stun gun again.
Yeah, getcha.
There was no way. The amount that these things fucking bother me when I don't manage to call them, like...
Now you're in trouble.
Ugh,
your reputation is ruined.
I have a reputation to maintain.
I know. This is why I like being in my position. I have no reputation. I have nothing. No self-respect, no reputation. You have everything to lose, my friend.
That's right. There was no way she could pretend to be asleep while being burned. Even if she could endure the pain. Anyone would reflexively move their eyelids if a flame came close to their eyes. But she didn't.
Oh no.
I turned the sink water on and aimed the end of a hose at the hag. Come on, we've already figured out she's dead. Just move on.
Look, we gotta try fire, we gotta try water, and then earth and air. Where's the vacuum cleaner? We gotta suck a face in.
Wasn't too high, but by squeezing the tip of the hose, I could make it squirt out. The water hit the hag in the face, but there was still no reaction.
It's messed up.
Shit. You've got to be kidding me. She's dead.
She's already dead.
One who was at the center of everything is dead now. I knew she wouldn't talk, but I didn't expect her to end up dead. I never even thought of killing her.
Well, that was easy.
I walked around the room restlessly. I didn't feel guilty, but instead I felt frustrated with what I'd done, so guilt. Come on, I need to calm down. What do I need to be afraid of? Calm down and stay cool. Calm down, stay cool.
Not cool.
I could feel my brain starting to calm down, and my emotions cooling down with it. She was my true enemy. It was just that I killed her before confronting her about it. Sooner or later, I would have killed her anyway.
This is some Fox and the Grapes type shit.
Mm-hmm.
This is good.
She wouldn't have said anything in the first place, so there wasn't really a reason why I should have let her live.
These grapes weren't even tasty anyway. Let's just forget about it.
I didn't realize that until now, and that was why I got frustrated. My revenge for Satoshi-kun started with the unexpected death of my grandmother. It was such a strange feeling, like I was wearing sopping wet clothes. I replaced that feeling with anger. I couldn't forgive her. I couldn't forgive the hag for abusing the Hojo family, including Satoshi-kun, for so many years. She cornered him psychologically as well as physically. She didn't deserve an easy death from a stun gun. I picked up a whip that was hanging on the wall.
Oh, here we go.
The whip was designed to make sure the person on the receiving end got seriously injured. I swung it up and down. The sound reminded me of when I was a child hitting things with a jump rope I pretended was a whip. But unlike them, I'd made a purple mark on the hag's face and reddish-black blood started oozing out.
Ugh.
I swung it up and then down again. This time the whip hits her in the head. Her hair flew in the air. I saw a bunch of her hair on the tip of the whip. At the end of the bunch of hair, there was a piece of her skin. It seemed the whip had ripped part of her scalp off. Now, is this like the cat o' nine tailsy whip that we talked about earlier in the arc? Or is this just a regular whip?
I think it's just a regular whip. I'm sorry.
Come on, you...
Maybe later.
I swear he introduced it earlier in the story and now we're not Chekhov's gunning it.
I think they mentioned it, but yeah.
Chekhov's...
Look, you should call it the stun gun, not the whip, okay? That's all I'm saying. There's a clear choice there between the stun gun and the whip.
Stop,
which one to pay attention to.
Stop doing this to me. Stop bringing up the stun gun.
I have to.
I'm very embarrassed.
I got you for once.
I continued to hit her with the whip. I didn't bother removing the hair beforehand.
It's a personal victory for me.
The tip of the whip was divided into many points, each point having a fish.
Oh no! No! Oh. Chekhov's cat of nine tails.
There we go.
What if it's not 9 points? Who knows? We haven't gotten a number yet.
Well, the cat of nine tails. Why does the cat of nine tails even have 9 in it?
I don't know.
Why? Like, I guess
it doesn't really matter.
Cat of tails doesn't flow quite as well.
Yeah, 9 is because it's got 9 lives, right? Like the idea is that when you're done, you should have ripped every life out of them.
Right.
Isn't that the point?
I think so.
Something like that.
That sounds familiar.
I don't even know if I've ever heard that. I'm pretty sure I just made that up, but like that makes sense to me.
It does.
Like you should be beaten with a ninja of all 9 of your lives. Like it's going to thoroughly ruin you.
Or maybe that's
not
where
fun.
cats having 9 lives came from, in that you had 9 tips to your whip and you'd slowly work through each of them.
I don't think that's how that works.
Applying that to cats was
I think the point is
just
it's just complete chaos. This whip is chaos. That's literally what this is. There is no order to this whip. You just hope that one of them lands.
Well, anyway, I'm glad that having just ridiculed the story, it's now saved itself.
Yes.
And now the only thing that came out of that discussion was me being frustrated again.
Yay! I'm okay. This is a good episode, guys. I'm enjoying this.
I was so excited to the speed of the whip. Not only scratched the victim, but tore their skin as well.
Oh, good.
The hag's hair was all messed up and her face was getting bloody. She'd started to look like a real demon. I stopped the whipping. Not because my arm was tired, but because I couldn't stand the feeling of her hair on the tip touching me every time I swung the whip. I threw the whip at the hag. Breathing heavily, I realized I was covered in her hair.
Ugh.
It almost felt like thousands of maggots were crawling all over me. I brushed it off violently.
This is why you let professionals do the torturing.
You deserve this, you fucking demon hag.
Oof.
I put my hands on my knees and exhaled roughly. It was then I noticed it. I perked up and turned around. There it is. The person who had been watching me since I snuck into the shrine storage. I sensed this person sitting in the tatami room. It enjoyed watching me torture my grandmother. An overwhelming emotion started to swallow me up. I tried desperately not to feel it. How long have you been there? You should have said something. It was just there. Just like Satoshi-kun, it was just there. It was extremely uncomfortable to have it just be there. I see. Rena told me. Are you... Oyashiro-sama? I smiled boldly, and yet I could feel my body shivering. You can't fool me. You saying that you're Oyashiro-sama And that the curse of Oryou really does exist. Come on. Who would believe something like that, huh? It's just my imagination. It couldn't be the curse of Oryou. The curse couldn't be real. Everything was done by humans. They made everything look like it was a curse. Well, I don't care if you saw what I did. I won't charge you for it. But if you're thinking about interfering, I won't hold back, you know? No matter what I said, nothing happened. It was like trying to communicate with an insect. I get it, because Higurashi, because it's the theme of the story. Thank you.
Higurashis are insects, did you know?
We did it.
We did it. Yay!
I felt like I was staring at a spider in the middle of its web, and the spider was staring back.
Ooh.
I turned to the hag in the wheelchair. I couldn't leave her body here forever. If I don't need to make her death known, then it should be quick. As it's best if her body doesn't exist. Not even in this secret underground torture room. I exhaled to try calm myself down. I remember now. When I was a little girl, I guess I used to love making me feel scared. He often told me scary stories about various horrible things. I recalled his stories about the secret torture room of the Sonozaki family. According to the story, there was a well in the torture room for dumping bodies in. There was a pile of tortured corpses at the bottom of the well, and resentful moans could be heard echoing from there. And about halfway down the well, there was a different tunnel which was a secret passage leading into the distant mountains. That bit was from Mion's telling of the story. It was probably an amalgamation of tellings from different relatives. The room was supposed to be a huge secret, but everyone got loose lips at the chance to have fun scaring those young successor. Mion, do you remember one of our relatives talking about a hidden well a long time ago? It's supposed to be a hidden well somewhere in this underground torture room, and it's connected to a secret passage. Did you hear some noise earlier? It was me, whipping the hag. Mion didn't reply, but I saw her bite her lip. Don't worry. I won't whip you. But if you don't cooperate, I might punish her some more.
Ooh.
Next time, I won't use a whip. Down at the end. Do you see a cell in the darkness? It's in there. Mion pointed weakly. I walked down to where her finger indicated. A light bulb lit up the cell. A lot smaller than the one Mion was in. It was very shallow, and I didn't even need to open the door to see how tiny it was. Of course there's no well in there. I became angry, assuming she lied to me, but after considering it, I didn't think she actually would at this point. I opened the door and walked in. And it was that point I fell down the well and died.
The end!
And that's the end of the arc.
Da-da-da-da-da-da, boing!
I noticed something immediately. There was an opening right in the middle of the cell. See, I told you, she could have walked right in.
There it is.
It's very dangerous. No occupational health and safety in this torture room.
It's true. They should be ashamed. Someone should get the health and safety officer in here to shut them down. This perfectly legal torture chamber.
Exactly.
With its design flaws.
The opening was naturally disguised. The way the rocks and shadows were positioned perfectly hid the well. The tip of a rock inside the cell concealed the entrance. Unless you went in, you'd never notice.
There you go.
But it was such a shallow cell that nobody would even think of going in. Besides, the bars allowed you to see the inside well enough. The cell is not even a few meters deep, so it would only take a glance to see everything. Nobody would think of unlocking the door and walking in. But walking in was the only way anyone could find the well. Sounds like some real video gamey shit, that does.
Yeah. Basically.
I'm trying to
It's
think.
logic puzzle. It's like Resident Evil.
Yeah. Is it a logic puzzle? No,
I don't know.
I don't really
A
think.
perspective puzzle.
I'm trying to think what games have like done perspective puzzles really cool. Like I know there's Fez obviously, which is a really interesting platformer because the way
I never played Fez, so.
but that's not the kind of same perspective-y nonsense I'm looking for. Anyway, tell us in the comments. Tell us about some fun perspective puzzles in games.
Yeah, tell us about that.
Furthermore, there were many cells in this huge cave.
That's the one.
Who would think that one of them was hiding a secret well? Well, you obviously. The inside of the well was dark. I couldn't see anything. But every little noise I made produced echoes. I could tell this was a very deep well. I brought a flashlight from the torture room and shot it down the well. It almost looked more like a vertical tunnel. Obviously a man-made one at that. There were wedges on the wall like a ladder, and they looked as if they were inviting me to descend. It's kind of ironic that the secret escape route from an underground torture room ended up being a well that takes you even further down. You had no way of knowing whether it would take you to freedom or hell. Furthermore, there were the tortured bodies of past victims at the bottom, who would be able to go down this well without hesitation. Nobody in their right mind could go down this well to look for a secret tunnel, hearing the voices of the dead all the while. Have you ever gone down that well, Mion? I never even wanted to. I feel the same way. Why would I go down where they tossed the victims of the torture room? I went back to the room and then returned to the cave, pushing the wheelchair containing the hag. Mion screamed. Shion, are you going to push Granny down the well? No, I'm not. I'm just dumping her body. She's dead. Rest assured, I didn't torture her to death. It was probably the stun gun. Maybe her heart failed. I could just leave her body here, but I don't want it to rot, you know. How could you? Hey, do you want to take care of her even now that she's dead? Maybe you can use chopsticks to pick maggots off her body, huh? Sounds like a good torture method, honestly.
Sounds like fun. Yep.
Mion uncovered her ears and shook her head. Everything I said seemed to bother Mion. Her own life wasn't guaranteed at this point. Shion, why did you do this? Let's see. Why do you think? Nobody said anything for a while, but the silence was soon broken. Sadashi? Is this revenge? I don't know if it really was revenge, since it happened so quickly. I'm sure she died without even feeling a thing. Hey, Mion. Now that I think about it, I did have a reason to kill the hag. Do you know what it was? It wasn't just because she killed Sadashi-kun. It's because she lied.
Oh!
I slapped the hag's head.
Got him.
You said it too. You told me that if I ripped out my nails, she would forgive everyone. That's why I ripped out 3 of my nails. I did what you told me to, right? But she didn't keep her promise. She made Sadashi-kun disappear. Why? What was that for? I do enjoy the way that Shion has warped this to be evidence why Granny is a bad person rather than evidence that Granny wasn't the one behind it. When, to my mind, that's what it is.
Well, it's all up in the air, isn't it? It could have many meanings. We'll never know because Granny is dead.
Indeed.
Thus is the tragedy.
I continued to slap the hag's head. Her blood was all over my hand by then, and it felt gross. I tried to wipe it off on her clothes, but then her hair got on my hand. I ran to the sink in the torture room and washed my hands with a brush. When I was done, I went back to Mion's cell. After Sadashi-kun disappeared, you came over and told me. You said the relationship between me and Sadashi-kun was forgiven. You also said that the Sonozaki main house had nothing to do with Sadashi-kun's disappearance. Yeah, You lied! My shots echoed through the cave. I was breathing heavily. I felt like I used up all of the air in my lungs. I believe you don't know anything. You aren't even sure if the hag actually trusted you. But I don't know if she forgave Sadashi-kun because of what I did. She wouldn't have told you the truth. The hag didn't keep her promise. She said she'd forgive everyone, but she lied. She didn't forgive. She didn't forgive Sadashi-kun. Liar, 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 liar. Damn it! Give me back Sadashi-kun. I want him back. I want him, I want him, I want him, I want him. I kicked the hag's leg repeatedly. Each time I kicked, the wheelchair made a squeaky noise. I'd like to shout out to Ben here, who's over here counting how many times I repeat things.
I'm just making sure you're saying it right.
I'm definitely not. The way I do these ones is
I know, you're going for what's more natural.
No, I go until I run out of breath, right?
Ah, I see.
Because it's not like I could, continue to say it over and over again without any air in me lungs.
You need to, take up swimming, honestly.
Well, if I'd breathed in more before I started speaking the lines, I probably could, but I don't know how long these lines are going to go on.
That's why we have to break after every line and then just edit out
them all together.
Yeah, that's how professional voice actors do it. So we should do that. That's what they do, right? They do it one line at a time, individually, with no flow. That's how you get the best performance.
If you're paying for my editing time, I'll do it.
God, no.
Each time I kicked, the wheelchair made a squeaky noise. I ran out of breath and knelt down. Mion was still covering her ears and was now shaking. There were tears in her eyes. Sorry to scare you. Sorry about that. If you really don't know, I won't torment you. Don't worry. But if you were ever lying to me, well, you'll have to accept whatever comes your way. You know what I mean?
I think that was about the right number of laughs.
It made me click to laugh again, though. I was very upset with it.
It happens. Hashtag click to laugh.
It sounds like a really bad game show.
I was going to say it's the title of this episode, but it's not that great. It's like, if you can't come up with anything else, click to laugh.
Yeah, no, that's good. That's good.
Throw it up there.
Let's do tips.
Tips! Oh, it's the sting of payback. This is getting stung like a bee.
Let's do it. Notebook page 183.
Oh, got it.
I wasn't planning to kill the hag so quickly.
We know.
I was going to kill her anyway, but it was too soon.
We know.
Were you going to kill her anyway?
These are all things that we sort of know.
People would normally assume the Sonozaki family operates as a hierarchy, but that's not true. It's actually more like a system of government. Several ministries stem from the main family, and each forms a hierarchy of its own. These ministries don't communicate with one another. The people who belong to a given ministry don't know what the other ministries are doing. That way, the Sonozaki family's dealings are kept perfectly secret.
Between the ministries.
Of course, the most important people in the family govern several ministries. They know, of course, about their own ministries, and they know a little bit about the ministries their relatives run.
Ministries.
But none of them know everything. There are ministries that work in the open. There are ministries that work unseen. And there are some smaller ones that Oryou runs herself. Mion seems to know about most of them, but she doesn't necessarily know them all. Took a long time to start using fucking pronouns for this.
There we go. We're here.
In fact, she didn't know about the curse. Considering that, the fact the hag died before I could interrogate her is a huge loss.
Hey, you dummy.
Amateur over here.
Yeah, if you're gonna kidnap someone, don't use a near-lethal weapon on a near-dead woman. Just don't do it.
Well, I mean...
Don't do it.
Do we ever see tasers and whatnot actually kill people in the movies terribly much?
No, not usually. Usually
I feel like I've seen...
It's the thing the cops use. It couldn't hurt that bad. Or it's played for laughs.
It obviously does happen, but it's not really, ever the advertised feature, because if you want to kill someone with a gun, you use a gun in the movies.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, now that I think about it, tasers are usually used as a gag more than, an actual weapon in any case, which is kind of silly now that I think about it. But hey.
They are pretty dangerous.
They are very dangerous. But it's funny to watch someone spasm uncontrollably, so that's what we get. That's what tasers are used for. Shout out to Higurashi for breaking the stereotype.
I mean, yes? I don't know.
I'm just glad I said that with a straight face until I laughed.
It's not fun to watch people spasm.
No, it's not. It's
at
awful.
All. The head of the Kimiyoshi family was the one who called the main house most often after the 50 years curse. My father called the second most. My parents were still high in the hierarchy, but the stir caused by my mother's disownment still hung over us, so we got treated as outcasts. The fact my father received so many calls proved how much the hag valued us despite the distance at which we were kept, demonstrating her own two-faced respect for both sides of the coin. My father seems to be in charge of the intelligence bureau. He reported police information, gossip, and rumors going around in the Yakuza business to the hag. He silences, stirs, and distorts that information at her request. By the way, my servant Kasai is an old friend of my father's. That must be why Kasai knows many things. But I don't know if my father is involved in the curse's execution. My assumption is that although he gathered information on the police investigation about the case, he wasn't involved in the execution itself. The fact that my father and the hag have this close connection isn't widely known. People know that she uses his information network, but they don't look far beyond that. In the same way, it's possible that a curse execution team exists under the hag's direct control. People just aren't aware of it.
There you go.
These have both been some of the, least...
Informative.
Yeah.
Well, I like that Higurashi is, exposed a little bit more of, they're a Yakuza. Here's how a Yakuza functions. I think the only thing that really stuck out to me there, and maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like, isn't that the first time she's called Kasai a servant? Normally...
Yeah.
Normally it's a very, familial almost kind of bond that she has with him, but she's a bit colder. Maybe it's because it's the notebook, and maybe it's because of
I'm pretty sure even in the notebook he's referred to her as just Kasai.
Kasai. That's just something that stuck out to me.
Obviously a very intentional decision. I do like that.
That was cool.
Yeah, I don't know. Aside from hearing that her father gets a lot of calls, which one could kind of assume, considering we'd kind of already been shown he ran the information networks in Arc 4. I don't know.
See him be like, "It will be done. Let me tell you about what my thugs have found when they were turning over those shopkeepers and getting turf and roughing people up and all that sort of stuff."
Yeah, I do know that, as we talked about in Arc 4, that Higurashi writes all the tips at the end.
Yeah.
So I wonder if that piece of information about her father is, something that comes up later down the line that he's wanted to introduce here in the tip.
Maybe. To find out about her father and his importance to the story.
Indeed we will.
Next time.